Here it is. Show me the money. Show me the money! Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money! What you gonna do, Jerry? Show me the money! Congratulations, you're still my agent.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and things are about to get much worse for Jussie Sommolier. It's a wonderful Monday. I've got maybe 70, maybe 80, 90 videos to do for you today. All I ask is for Christmas is that you click that subscribe button down below the video. I know you might have to create an account, but I would greatly appreciate it. Now, if you followed the Jussie Sommolier trial, you know that Friday he was found guilty on 5 out of 6 counts. But people asked, Jeremy, what of the restitution? Is that the right word? What about the $100,000 in extra overtime that Jussie Sommolier's lies cost the city? A city that desperately needs money for Mayor Beetlejuice to buy more wigs. Chicago still going after convicted hoaxer Jussie Sommolier for $130,000 in police costs, and the jury is speaking out against him. The city of Chicago said last week it is still going to go after convicted hoaxer Jussie Sommolier, a felon, well over $100,000 in costs incurred by the city's police department during their investigation into the crime that he staged himself. Quote, the city filed a civil lawsuit against Jussie Sommolier to recover costs incurred by the Chicago PD investigating what the city believed to be a fake crime. The city said in a statement, while using a different standard of proof, the jury's finding of guilt convicting Jussie Sommolier of these charges stemming from the incident confirms that the city was correct in bringing its civil lawsuit. The statement continues. The city intends to continue to pursue its lawsuit to hold Sommolier accountable for his unlawful actions and to demand that he compensate the city for the costs incurred by the Chicago PD for which they took his false claims seriously. The city of Chicago filed for civil action in 2019 after Jussie Sommolier refused to reimburse the Chicago PD the $130,000 for its 2-week investigation into the entire staged hoax. Good. I feel like they should be factoring some level of interest in there too, don't you think? I mean, it would just be great if Mr. Anti-Cop had to give $130,000 of his nest egg to the police department. That is a chef's kiss, my friends. Jurors now speaking out on Jussie Sommolier. Juror explains what sealed Jussie's fate for them. A juror in the Jussie Sommolier trial has explained several reasons why the jury felt there was no way they could acquit the star actor in his trial for staging everything on himself. The female juror, a woman, who declined to be named, told the Chicago Sun-Times that the jury of 6 women and 6 men didn't have any major disagreements, but it took 9 hours to deliberate because they wanted to properly consider all the evidence. And by the way, shout out to all of the juries in these high-profile cases lately who are getting things right for the most part. I feel like there were several high-profile cases last year that, certain things were ignored. Obviously, we know the trial going on in New York is a farce, but in Kenosha, in Georgia, and in Chicago, I think these juries got it right. And shout out to them. And I said this. I said this about the Kyle trial, and I said this about the Jussie trial, that, while us lay people expected some sort of verdict almost immediately, I respect them going back and taking their job seriously, even if it seemed like a dunk. Some doubted that prosecutors had proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt when deliberations began, she said, but those people just wanted more time to look over the evidence. It was not evenly split, but there were some doubters. Jussie was found guilty on Thursday evening of 5 of 6 counts of disorderly conduct relating to filing a false police report. Jussie Sommolier, openly gay and black, who cares, who for nearly 3 years denied accusations that he hired the two brothers to fake the whole thing, testified his own behalf during the trial last week. But the juror said she felt his answers didn't have any credible reasoning, especially when there was zero evidence to back up his story. Sommolier's creative director, Frank Gadsden, who initially called the PD in 2019, was included on a list of witnesses to testify, but never did. I wonder why that is. We all wanted to hear from Frank, the juror said. I bet they did. I bet they did. And the fact that he didn't show up probably didn't help the case. Ultimately, the juror said she found the testimony from the brothers hired to set the whole thing up far more convincing. The Osundarios gave darning testimony that Sommolier had paid them to carry out the whole thing. They also claimed that Jussie had walked them through a dry run days before. Videos, messages, and money transfers all backed up their evidence. Rubbing salt in the wound, the juror said Sommolier's defense attorney Nenye Uche, seemed to be just firing from the hip with his approach of the trial. He threw out unsubstantiated claims that didn't sit well with the juror, like a claim that the brothers wanted $2 million payout from Sommolier to change their stories, something that was never proven, never shown any evidence to support. That's as far as I understand. So Uche said last week that he would be appealing due to the jury's, quote, inconsistent verdict. Quote, you cannot say Jussie is not lying for the same incident, he said. But the jury explained why they delivered a guilty verdict on only 5 of 6 charges. We were told it was aggravated because they said they were wearing a mask, the juror said. But in Sommolier's accounts of what happened, he did mention a mask. She added, I just hope that Sommolier and his attorneys know that we went in there with an open mind. I listened to both sides. We wanted to make sure that those who had doubts didn't feel pressured. Well, of course, I mean, I don't know anybody that had any doubts of it. You see this article. Experts say Jussie Sommolier is in Matrix of Arrogance. Oh, hi, Annie. Are you a happy kitty? Are you a happy kitty? Oh. Tell the people to click that red subscribe button, Annie Bonanny. What do you want to say to them? Do they hear you? Yeah. Anyway, experts say Jussie was in a matrix of arrogance as he still awaits sentencing. Jussie Sommolier left the criminal court building Thursday looking as stoic and defiant as ever, despite being found guilty of staging everything. When Jussie is sentenced next month, prosecutors said they plan to emphasize his bizarre turn on the witness stand in which he lied for hours and hours about how the two Trump-loving bigots beat him up and did all these crazy things that never happened. But far from showing remorse, they might sway the judge in his favor. Sommolier, 39, has continued to dig his heels in and told his attorneys to appeal the verdict. Experts say that the stubbornness is among the textbook signs of narcissistic personality disorder that Jussie seems to exhibit, and which may have been exacerbated by growing up in an unusual family bubble. I mean, sure. Nothing cuts through the matrix of this arrogance and delusion of entitlement, she said. They're all defenses up against a deep well of insecurity and inadequacy. Anyone who walks around like this is covering up a stench that's from something they don't want others to smell. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, Jussie Sommolier is obviously insane, and even the co-stars. Terrence Howard says the hoax could have gotten very scary and ugly. Empire actor Terrence Howard broke his silence on the verdict of his co-star Jussie Sommolier. Last week, we all know, on Sunday evening, the Academy Award-nominated actor spoke about the verdict involving Sommolier during an appearance on Mark Vegas's Mark My Words radio show, where he noted that he looked at the entire trial in a different light because he felt a paternal relationship with Jussie, given the fact that he played his son on Empire. It's interesting. It's an uncomfortable question because anyone that's aware of the show or my relationship with Jussie would know that Jussie is for 6 years, he was my son, Howard explained. That he was my son and that I had the most difficulty with on the show as far as the character world goes. So you end up getting very close with individuals that you have the most struggle with, whose characters you might have the most struggle with. He went on to note that there's still a lot of love between him and Jussie, explaining his family loves Jussie. Despite how I feel about Jussie the person, Howard said he made sure to note that he respects the jury's decision and feels fans of the show should do the same. They judged him and found him guilty. 12 of them that judged him completely unbiased position. You have to respect that. Now, if you understand Hollywood, that is as savage as it gets, because what he could have said was, oh, this is just another sign of the racism in America. Didn't do that. The actor concluded his thoughts on the matter by noting that the small spark Sommolier's story created could have set the world on fire. While he stopped short of admitting that Jussie faked it, he noted that if it were deemed to be true, the impact on it would have had a massive impact on the black community. If they had gotten away with it, whoever orchestrated it, whatever was set up, if they got away with it, then we would have potential of black folks feeling that they need to defend black people against MAGA, and it could have turned into something very, very scary and ugly. Yeah, Jussie didn't care about that because he's a narcissistic a-hole who deserves every bit of bad luck that comes his way for the rest of his life. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.